Let's be honest, playing Delta Force on a console is a completely different game than playing it on a high-end PC. You can't fight a person using a keyboard and mouse and try to match or outmaneuver them with your analog stick. You are going to get crushed. So here's the reality, you have to outthink them. To win on console, you need a completely different approach. From your setup to your settings, all the way to a console-specific strategy. You need an overhaul. And today, I'm giving you the 10 essentials that make that happen. We're fixing your input lag and settings, mastering the learning curve, and focusing on audio all the way through to weapon builds. After this video, you will be a force to be reckoned with. For many of you watching this video, you will think that some of these things are obvious, but not everyone is aware of it, and I want to be thorough. Even while making this video, I kept learning new things. For console players, input lag is a real issue. If you want to be competitive, you have to reduce lag as much as possible. Even if you play for fun only, constantly dying isn't very fun either. So here are a few things you want to change before you start your first match. The first thing we want to do is reduce the lag coming from the controller to your console. Use the USB-C cable and connect your controller to your console. Even though this might save you only 100 milliseconds. It might not sound like much, but trust me, it helps. Go to your controller settings on your console and make sure you enable the cable. If you can, use an Ethernet cable for your internet connection too. Wireless is cool, but it's slow. As nice as it is to play any game in high definition, Delta Force itself isn't a high quality visual game in the first place. Keeping it on visual mode only slows down your frame rate, which slows down your gameplay. On visual mode, the max frame rate will be 60. Switching to performance mode gives you 120 frames per second with some fluctuation. That's if your TV or monitor has that capability. The lower frames per second makes it much harder to make minor adjustments in your hip fire and ADS aim. Personally, playing Delta Force on 4K and 60 frames per second is a waste of time. Another cure to fix any input lag is to switch VSync off. Again, Delta Force is not a super high quality game. You should focus on performance. What I also like is to switch on the performance parameters. Go to the screen option and switch this on. You don't have to, but it's good to keep your eye on the FPS and delay time of your setup and server. Have you ever played a game and it feels like every movement drags and feels exhausting? If you don't make the next few changes, your controller might feel like you're holding a brick instead. As I mentioned earlier, make sure your controller is using the cord and not Bluetooth. Following this step, you need to immediately switch off your haptic feedback and controller vibration. It has no place in competitive gaming. Then you need to lower your dead zone settings. For those who don't know what this is, let me explain. Unfortunately, as console players, we experience something called stick drift. That is when you do not touch your analog sticks but still get minor movement. Setting your dead zones could fix any unwanted movement. We need precision to be successful. The default dead zone settings in Delta Force is quite high and starts at 10. If you have some stick drift, you need to set it as low as possible without getting any drift. Start at 1 and work your way up until the drift disappears. Make sure you check your right and left analogs. The next setting that Delta Force has is something I haven't seen before. It's the activation time before your outer max input is activated. You have this setting for hipfire and ADS. Essentially, if you want to do a 180 or 360 turn, you have the outer dead zone acceleration. This is how fast you turn when your stick is at maximum input. The hipfire turning activation time and turn delay basically affects how quickly your max input gets activated and reached. If it is set too high, it will feel like you have a huge delay in your response time and movement speed. Set yours as low as possible. My advice is between 5 and 15. Only then should you start adjusting the horizontal hipfire and ADS sensitivity. I'll do a more in-depth settings video in the future to explain this. For now, Set it between 5 and 15. One thing I immediately noticed when I started playing Delta Force is the time it takes to rank up in warfare. It uses military ranks and you rank up by earning merit points. By ranking up you also unlock rewards. Ranking up in Delta Force console feels quite rapid, and with it you unlock rewards you don't know what to do with yet. In my personal opinion, and this isn't fact, I think the devs are doing it to motivate console players to keep playing, since it's only been released in August 2025, which is very recent. The challenge with this is that it takes time to learn to navigate the menus. So often when I unlocked something, I didn't know what its use was or where to find it. Learning to navigate the menus takes time, unless you got used to it with games like Battlefield 2042. The other challenge with ranking up fast is you will be facing sweaty PC players rather soon, and they will destroy you. Movement and aiming using a PC is wildly more responsive than on console. Upgrading weapons and getting used to weapon recoil on console is slower than on games like Call of Duty and Battlefield. You need to know which stats to focus on to improve recoil. During gameplay it will take you a while to get the feel for the recoil and to be able to win gunfights against multiple opponents. I remember playing with certain weapons and really struggling with its recoil, and after playing for a few weeks I went back to the same weapon and enjoyed it a lot more. Movement and aiming on Delta Force console has been critiqued quite heavily, and unfortunately it feels even worse when you try to fly a helicopter or a jet. Getting a feel for it will take you a long time. Actually becoming good at it will take you much longer. So keep practicing and stay patient. Operations is a completely different ballgame, especially with the limited extraction shooter games available for consoles. To me, this extraction shooter was my first experience, so learning how Operation worked took me much longer. You need to figure out what's good gear and which ammo goes with which weapon. Operations isn't my main mode of play, but I've played it a decent amount, and there are still things I have no idea what to do with. Learning what items to take into a mission is crucial. Knowing which areas of your base you need to upgrade and the requirements needed is also quite technical. Overall, you must really enjoy playing extraction shooter games if you want to fully learn how Delta Force operations work. Comparing operations on PC versus console, it's like you're playing a completely different game. They can flick through their loot items in no time. They can switch out gear and dump items faster. There is one setting you can change that will increase the movement speed of the cursor. I set mine at 15. More than that, the cursor flies all over the place. You still won't be able to move through loot as fast as PC, but this setting will help. That's why you need to really invest a lot of time improving your settings and feel for the game. Go in with high quality gear and ammo. My advice to you is to stay patient and don't rush the learning process. I want to teach you a little trick to unlock new operators faster. You will unlock them as you rank up and achieve certain goals, but this way gives you another option. You can actually select which operator to unlock next. Viren is a very good option for console players, but he is unlocked through the game's automatic system. So as an additional operator for console, I'd pick Uluru or Gizmo, especially to help take out vehicles. All you have to do is go on the operator and select to recruit it using L3. Then the 3 goals you need to reach will pop up in order to unlock your selected operator. As you unlock operators, make sure to try out each one thoroughly and then stick with your best performing operator. Then you need to play with this operator until you can use every special ability with your eyes closed. It needs to become second nature if you want to compete against PC players. Another important thing you need to know is the best operators for warfare might not be the best operator if you play operations. So make sure you experiment and find your favorite for each game mode. As far as I can tell, recoil control on console is more difficult than on PC. So you need to focus on steady recoil weapon builds instead of speed builds that PC players can get away with. But to do this you need to know a few things. The two stats you need to focus on the most is control and stability. Control is the strength of the recoil, and stability essentially is for how long your weapon remains stable during gunfire. For example, let's say you have high control but low stability. That means you will have less recoil but only for short bursts of fire. Then weapon sway will affect the recoil. What you will also notice with low stability is that gunfire looks blurry around the target. How you modify your weapons depends also on what type of player you are. If you like to run and gun, you'd want your control and handling optimized. For a slower mid to long range fighter, control and stability will be your key focus. The handling stat is how heavy your weapon feels switching between targets and ADSing, while accuracy is the bullet spray of a weapon. If you want to be competitive, you need to remember what each stat means. During warfare as a console player versus PC player, you might think you can get away with the same movement that PC players can. The truth of the matter is, you can't. This doesn't mean it is hopeless to play against PC players. All you have to do is adjust your playstyle a bit and keep your mind on a few essential factors. The first major thing is positioning. Make sure you always have some sort of cover. When you navigate through a map, make sure not to find yourself in an open space for too long. To do this, you also need to know each map very well. On each map there are certain areas that have good strategic position and cover. Use those areas to do most of your fighting. I'm not telling you to camp, so look out for good strategic positions and do your gunfighting there. Each map also has hidden areas you can get to, but to find them is much less obvious. When you play, look for boxes to jump on to access a roof or some hidden space, or use Viren's propulsion to get you onto uncommon spots. Most players won't know where fire is coming from. The second major thing is pre-aiming and sprinting. If you are going to sprint into gunfights, you are going to lose. The time it takes to ADS your weapon while sprinting is slow. Instead, take a deep breath and play patiently. Sprint when you find yourself in an open area, and pre-aim when moving around corners or when you approach a busy sector. Be ready for those surprise gunfights. The next gameplay tip is also essential to your success. Use your lean angles while aiming. While you hold aim, you click L1 or R1 to lean towards that side. This is perfect when you move around a corner or hiding behind an object. Only your head and weapon will stick out, making it hard for your enemy to shoot you. The worst thing you can do is make yourself an easy target. Personally, I don't have that many changes from the default button layout, but I would suggest you make at least this one change. Make your crouch and diving button your R3. The default setting is the circle. In my experience, you will use crouching and diving way more often than jumping. At least this way you can look around and crouch without taking your finger off the stick. I keep my sprinting on L3 and the jump button as X. You can also switch your aiming and firing to L1 and R1, and to switch the lean to L2 and R2 when you're holding down aim. But this is a personal preference. I might change mine in the future, but I'll most likely just keep it as it is. There's a lot more changes you can make, but changing crouch and diving to R3 is a must for me. Since Delta Force on console is very new, it is slightly behind PC in terms of movement and aiming. But when you know this, you can adapt and work around any of the limitations. The way I see it is, you shouldn't let it spoil the fun for you. You just need to find a way to work around it. And you can do this by following the advice I've given you so far. One of the limitations on console is when you play Operations game mode. Looting on console takes considerably longer than on PC. Do yourself a favor and watch a few PC players go through loot and compare it to console. It's a huge difference. PC players can do this rapidly. One example of working around the limitation is, when you do go through loot, make sure to take the box to a safe location first. Don't stand out in the open exposed. You can speed it up using the square button and changing the settings as mentioned earlier. Make sure you spend a lot of time getting your aiming settings right. My advice would be to turn crossplay off and work on your skills before joining PC lobbies. Find ways to limit the limitations. Playing Delta Force, especially operations without a headset, is like playing it blindfolded. Trust me, against other players who have audio, you don't stand a chance. Against PC players, forget about it. I don't want you to worry about needing the best gaming headset and perhaps not having the budget for it. I've been playing for quite a long time with a normal, very cheap wired headset. If it can give you 3D audio, use it. Only very recently I got a new OXS headset as a gift from my wife. The benefit of this is not having a wire, I can adjust the volume on the actual headset, and I have a mic for comms. It is also way more comfortable. The other one kept crushing my ears. Just make sure you switch the audio to binary audio or object binary audio, depending on your headset capabilities. Object audio is more 3D. The final essential I have for you is a personal choice you have to make. The choice you make is going to depend on a few factors and each will have pros and cons. Are you playing Warfare or Operations? If you want to play Operations against PC players, your skills need to be insane. If you haven't yet, look for people on YouTube playing Operations with a PC. There is no way console players can do what I've seen some PC players do. Turning crossplay on, you will face many real players and PC players that can easily outmaneuver you. Turning crossplay off means you will face a lot more bot teams, but battles against real players will be scarcer but more fair. I am not making excuses, I've seen PC players in Operation and there's no way console can do that yet. For Warfare mode you can definitely switch crossplay on, but make sure you are used to your settings and you have good experience playing the game. If you are new, turn crossplay off, practice, become good and then go against PC players. At the end of the day it will be your personal choice. I've played with crossplay off and there are some really good console players. Playing with crossplay off in Warfare will leave you facing a lot of bots and only a few other console players. That also depends on which server you play on. Turning it off means less bots, more real players, but very sweaty players. At the end, try them all out and decide for yourself. In terms of the settings, you will see there are 3 options. Crossplay on is obviously against all platforms. Then you get console only and crossplay off. Crossplay off means you will only face the same platform you use. Console only means you will face both Xbox and PlayStation players only. That excludes PC and mobile. So these are the 10 most essential things you need to compete with PC players. I've played against some PS5 players in PC lobbies that are ridiculously good. Their aiming is on point, they move fast, they shoot from strategic positions, you don't even see them coming. Their overall gameplay is insane. So if they can do it, you can also do it. These 10 essentials are things I've put into place for my own gameplay and I'm continuously getting better. Let me know in the comments how you've been enjoying Delta Force on console. There are a lot of mixed reviews out there and I've seen some very unhappy people. But I just reached playing 200 hours and I'm having way more fun now than when I just started. I hope you all enjoyed this video and learned a lot from it. For more content on console specific Delta Force, hit that subscribe button. And as always, take care everyone and happy gaming.